Male bowerbirds build elaborate bowers, where they perform an intricate dance to attract females. The green catbird is the only bowerbird that doesn't build a bower. It gets its name from the cat-like wailing call that it gives at any time of day throughout the year. They inhabit lush rainforest. They are often difficult to see among the foliage in the treetops. This female jumps from a limb to bring food to her chicks, 20 meters up in the canopy. The male regent bowerbird in full breeding plumage is one of the more spectacular sights of the warm temperate rainforests of eastern Australia. The female is brown-black, mottled brown, with light brown scallops on its back and breast. As usual with bowerbirds, all of them steal ornaments or fibers, and sometimes trash the bower to avoid competition. The adult satin bowerbird male has striking glossy blue-black plumage, a pale bluish-white bill, and a violet-blue iris. Younger males and females are similar in color to each other and are collectively referred to as green birds. They are olive green above, off-white with dark scalloping below, and have brown wings and tail. Male satin bowerbirds spend plenty of time on the ground, building, decorating and tending to their bowers, which can make them vulnerable to predators. A dark, brownish, mottled, strongly marked bowerbird with warm brown tones overall and a small pink crest on the nape. Found in Central Australia. A resident of North Tropical Australia can reach 35 centimeters. As seen, he picks up white-grey ornaments, glass, plastic, snail shells. In display, exhibits the pink nape crest by turning head to face down and away. The largest of the family, endemic to eastern Australia. Hollows in standing dead or live trees and tree stumps are essential for nesting. The diet is 80% ants. The rest is a collection of invertebrates. Adult male superb fairy wrens are among the most brightly colored of the species. Superb fairy wrens feed on insects and other small arthropods. Here captured in mating, very, very fast. A small bird with a long blue tail that is held cocked. This species is fairly common in arid inland Australia, as well as in southwest Western Australia. Small rusty brown bird with finely streaked plumage and long cocked tail, found in rocky areas and gorges around spinifex clumps of Central Australia, including Alice Springs and Tennant Creek, where it was filmed. A red-brown bird with a long tail that has a rough, uneven tip. Rich reddish-brown, especially wings and crown. Feeds on the ground in dense coastal shrubland and heathland, filmed on the Great Ocean Road. It is a small, ground-dwelling bird with a distinctive black face mask and forehead. Found in rainforests and wet, timbered gullies with dense vegetation. This one was filmed in Lamington National Park. Small scrub wren with white eyebrow. This species is widespread across coastal Australia. It often makes a grumpy buzzing call, also filmed in Lamington. Small brown bird with long pointed bill, long pinkish legs, and off-white eye ring. Inhabits rainforest and wet eucalypt woodlands, where it forages for insects mostly in lower and mid-canopy. Here taking a good shower. Remarkably tiny bird, around 9 centimeters, with very short, stubby bill, sometimes in mixed flocks with thornbills and pardalotes. They are a familiar and friendly face in the garden or the bush alike. With a cheeky demeanor, bold attitude and frenetic buzzing calls, these diminutive birds have the ability to brighten the day of anyone nearby. Tiny colourful bird with short stubby bill, bright red patch on rump, and entirely white eyebrow. Very common in woodlands and eucalypt forest within its range, which covers most of Australia. Makes small nest burrows in soil banks. Captured in action near Adelaide. The eastern spinebill inhabits shrubs in open eucalypt forests, as well as shrubland, heathland and suburban gardens. They use their long, slender, decurved bills to probe deep into flowers, at all levels from the canopy down to the undergrowth, to feed on the sweet nectar. Decurved bill like many of the family. Males of this species also have a distinctive stripe down the center of the chest and abdomen. A resident of the outback, filmed in Alice Springs. His melodious call is heard in all eastern Australia. It has a semicircular ear patch, pale yellow in colour. The name of this bird commemorates the Australian artist John Lewin. Many of his illustrations were of native Australian birds on native Australian plants. A medium-sized olive grey honeyeater with an oval pale yellow cheek patch and a brown eye can be confused with Lewin's honeyeater and graceful honeyeater, but the patches differ in shape. Adults have a blue-grey eye, while Lewin's has a bluish eye, and yellow-spotted has a brown eye. Found on the Cape York Peninsula and southern New Guinea. A small greyish honeyeater with a yellow facial stripe and a faintly streaked front. Abundant along the eastern coast of Australia in forested areas. Migrates north in early winter. Is one of Australia's most widespread species of honeyeater. It inhabits many different shrubby habitats, ranging from salt-pruned coastal scrub, to desert acacia shrublands, to stunted tropical monsoon forest. Filmed in Cunnamulla, southwest Queensland's outback. Honeyeater with a bright yellow chin and crown, and bold black cheeks. Note the small yellow tufts behind the ear. Typically found in woodland areas around the southeast parts of Australia. Strong-billed, black-headed honeyeater endemic to Tasmania. It has a relatively long tail and a distinctive bright yellow chin and throat. Bright olive green above. A honeyeater with a sooty brown plumage and a bright pale patch between its eye and bill. This species is abundant across the drier tropical areas of northern Australia. Filmed in Kakadu National Park. Almost entirely plainish yellow and featureless. Found pretty much anywhere with trees in far northern Queensland, including gardens and mangroves, where it forages high up in the trees. Filmed in Port Douglas. Though not a large honeyeater, the white-plumed honeyeater is a particularly aggressive bird. They defend their territories quite fiercely, sometimes cooperating in groups, to mob interlopers much larger than themselves to drive them away. The smallest of the miners, aggressive, territorial like others. The call can be heard constantly in the forests of D'Aguilar National Park, some 20 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, Queensland, although it can be found on the Great Dividing Range down to Melbourne. This was filmed in the Charlie Moorland camping site. The noisy myna is a native Australian honeyeater, often mistaken for the common myna, an invasive species. The noisy mynas also breeds in colonies, and several broods may be reared in one season. The dedication of the mob to parenting is so strong that normally most of the chicks succeed. We call them the breeding machine. While the noisy myna is the most abundant myna around the cities, the yellow broad is the most widespread in the wild. Also lives in flocks in a wide range of wooded habitats. Filmed in Cunnamulla. More heard that it is seen inland Australia. It has heavily streaked plumage, pinkish bill with dark tip. Filmed in Burra Sanctuary. The call of this bird is like no other we've heard before. It invaded suburbs when native blossom plants were planted, replacing the exotic imported ones in the 70s. Filmed in Woy Woy, New South Wales. Large, grey-brown, streaked honeyeater with small pink flaps of facial skin, wattles, and a bright yellow lower belly. Has a wide variety of loud, harsh vocalizations, many of which are familiar noises across southern Australia. Filmed in Woy Woy and Girraween National Park. Named for its striking yellow and black plumage, once rejoiced in the name warty-faced honeyeater. Clearance of woodlands has made their numbers decline and the space grabbed by noisy myna and red wattlebird. This specimen was filmed in a sanctuary. Often found in flowering trees near or overhanging water. This species occupies a wide variety of coastal habitats in far northeast Australia and New Guinea. Usually found foraging in wetlands, on grassy ground across the southern half of Australia, especially in South Australia. Filmed in the American River area in Kangaroo Island. Small, brown and featureless honeyeater, much more darker than the brown honeyeater. Found in northeastern Australia, this one filmed in Mount Molloy. Normally birds try to blend to the surroundings, But this honeyeater has done the opposite. It might be a beacon, but not if he sips in red grevilleas or bottlebrush flowers, their preferred ones. It does not have many features, but is very vocal and territorial, as seen in the images. In some parts of southeastern Australia, moist gullies and other dense lowland habitats often resound with the calls of crescent honeyeaters in the cooler months. This individual was filmed on the Great Ocean Road. A very energetic bird, hard to stay for long on a perch. They get their name from the first name given to Australia, New Holland. It inhabits the southern half of the country. Has some resemblance with the white-cheeked, sometimes confused with it. Similar in behaviour as the New Holland. This was filmed in Rainbow Beach, Queensland, while the previous one in South Australia and Victoria. Small honeyeater with black cap, white throat and a white band behind the eye. Typically found in pairs or small groups in a variety of forest types. Big bird, unmistakable by its blue face. Aggressive and territorial, pugnacious. Many time live in groups and can stand against the mob of noisy myna, who chase any bird out of its territory by default. Similar to the noisy friarbird, which has a totally bare head. Found on the north of the continent in sandstone areas. A conspicuous honeyeater always heard, before seen, on the canopy of flowering trees, especially eucalyptus and bottlebrush. The smallest of the friarbirds with a characteristic call, very different to the others. The facial blue skin under the eye that widens over the cheek is one of its main features. It has brown upperparts with small white spots on back of neck and larger white spots on back. Black cap on top of head, grey throat. Their patch of dull pinkish skin around the eye is surrounded by orangish feathers. The grey-crowned babbler is the largest of the 4 Australian babblers, reaching to 30 centimetres long. Its distinctive bill is scimitar-shaped, long and heavy. Filmed in Kakadu. Like other babblers, it has a distinct white eye stripe, but can be identified by the distinctive chestnut colouring on its head and 2 white stripes on the wing coverts. Here attending a nest in Bora Sanctuary. Heavily patterned terrestrial bird of Central Australia. Usually seen walking around in open shrubland in stony country. This specimen filmed in Alice Springs. Mostly heard than seen, due to its totally camouflaged green plumage. The unusual feature of this call is that it is often performed by 2 birds calling in unison, with one bird contributing the first part of the call and another giving the second part. This was a Lamington resident. Inhabits many wooded habitats with clearings, farmland, and urban areas with trees from Indonesia to Australia. Inhabits eucalypt forest and other woodlands in Australia, Indonesia, New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands. The male has a rich, golden plumage, extending from their underparts and in a collar around the bird's neck, contrasting with a jet black hood and a white throat patch. It is a common sound in Australian bush in spring and summer. The duller female. Adult males have grey heads with a raised black crest, a white forehead and throat, and a prominent black breast. Not only eats figs, but a whole variety of other fruit. The seeds pass undigested most of the time, so can germinate wherever the bird goes. When it calls, it might be seen, otherwise is hidden in the vegetation. Olive green with red beak and eye. Dwells in northern Australia, this one seen in Port Douglas. similar to the yellow oriole, but less yellow overall. Mostly heard than seen, but here this one was quiet eating a prey. Captured in Hasty Swamp, in Atherton Tablelands. Wood swallows are a frequent sight on early morning or late afternoon, generally in woodlands and wetlands. The grown-up chicks still might return to the tree they were born in, to roost there. Chunky bird with broad, triangular wings and short, decurved bill. The white brow is a characteristic identification feature. Often forages very high up, in enormous flocks. This species is broadly distributed in Australia in tropical savanna. It prefers open woodlands and grasslands. Although the dusky wood swallow often occurs in flocks, it is a surprisingly aggressive species. When breeding, chases away even other species of wood swallows. Ambush hunter for prey, exhibits the typical behavior of butcherbirds. Captured killing a snake for a living. Filmed near Barron Falls, Queensland. Widespread butcherbird, its song can be heard everywhere, in forests, scrubs, garden and parks, where it hunts mainly for invertebrates and breeds at 10 meters plus off the ground. Similar to the gang of butcherbirds, the black hooded head distinguishes him from the others. We were filming some kangaroos from the car, and perched on a wire 1 meter near us. Apart from its widespread distribution, there are few places in Australia where magpies do not occur. The species' familiarity is probably due equally to its pleasant carolling song, which is such an essential part of the Australian soundscape, and for its tendency to swoop at people during its springtime nesting season. Once a regular winter visitor to lowland areas, pied currawongs have become permanent guests in the lowlands, where their sad calls are commonly heard. Here killing a fledgling fallen from a nest to feed their own, a fast death for the bird, otherwise exposed to a slow one by a storm of ants. A resident of Tasmania and its offshore islands. During the non-breeding season, they regularly occur in noisy flocks with the birds flying with a swooping. The spangled drongo has glossy black plumage, with iridescent blue-green spots, spangles, a long forked tail and blood-red eyes, forked tail. Usually seen singly or occasionally in twos, flitting about below the canopy of moist eucalypt forests and rhine forests, catching insects. The breeding pair was filmed in Bunya Mountains forests. A very common species of fantail, the most restless, continually on the move, took a great deal of time and patience to get the images shown in the clip. If the previous one is restless, Willie is almost impossible to stay still for more than a couple seconds. With the elegant movement of its tail, it is a spectacle to watch in the wild catching insects. In Australia there are not vultures, ravens are the sanitariums of nature here, predating on carrion to avoid diseases by decomposing animals. In the images a road killing of a kangaroo. The Torresian crow is common in the northern half of Australia, where it may interact with other species of crows and ravens, especially at sites of abundant food. In the images, feeding on the rests of a road killing of a kangaroo in the Northern Territory. The hovering action of a foraging restless flycatcher is quite distinctive. In this manner the bird plucks insects and other small invertebrates from the outer foliage of trees or shrubs. In the images hunting on a bank of the Mitchell Lake, north of Mariba. Grey above, rufous below, with grey head, black forehead and throat. Inhabits wetter forested areas along eastern coast of Australia, where it forages slowly for insects in foliage. Filmed in Lamington. Very well named for the combination of the colors of the upper part of the body. It is found in Australia, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea in subtropical or tropical moist lowland forests. Magpie larks are often seen in parks, gardens and streetscapes in built-up areas. This guy has a tick on one of its cheeks, hard to get rid of it on this part of the body for most birds. The call is unique among most black and white birds. Large, black, crow-sized bird with decurved bill and deep red eye. Usually occur in flocks of up to 20 birds, continually scanning the ground in search of prey. The apostle bird is often found in association with the white-winged chough, which belongs to the same family and has similar habits. It is found in open dry forests and woodlands near water. It may also be found in farmlands with trees, as well as along roadsides, in orchards and on golf courses. Large songbird with long decurved bill. Male almost completely black, with green and blue metallic sheen on belly, throat, and crown. Males display from a prominent upright stump or snag. The Jackie Winter is a small grey-brown flycatcher, with a faint pale eye line and white underbody. In the shots catching some worms in Bunya Mountains in winter. Large Australian robin. Males black above, with a black head and chin, and a large white spot above the bill. Breast and belly bright scarlet. Filmed while roaming South Bruny Island, Tasmania. Gets his name of the dark hood that covers the head of the male. A pair breeding in Boa Sanctuary. The female is duller and lacks the hood. A little robin that perches on low branches and on the side of tree trunks. Captured in Mount Molloy, far north Queensland. A very common inhabitant in the forests and woodlands of eastern Australia. Not noisy, but have a penetrating piping song, mostly heard at dusk and dawn. Endemic to Queensland from Cardwell to the north. Usually feeds on or near the ground in rainforests. It is endemic to northeastern Australia. Its natural habitats are forest, woodland and scrub, often near water. The white-browed robin has a prominent white marking, resembling an eyebrow, above its eyes. The minute golden-headed testicular is found in areas of long and dense grass, on the banks of wetlands, hardly seen. His call betrays him, and after a while, he peeks his head among the grasses or reeds and then can be seen. The tawny grassbird is one of the few Old World warblers to have reached Australia. More common in the north, it ranges from near Broome in Western Australia to Jervis Bay in New South Wales. This is the Tasmanian subspecies. Rather common, seen in small flocks that feed in bushes and shrubs in the mid-story. The only species of white-eye over much of its range. The most widespread swallow in Australia can be seen fluttering, swooping and gliding in search of insects in wetlands, farmlands, paddocks, deserts, inside the cities, and in any habitat imaginable. Nests anywhere. We've seen nests inside small drainage pipes on roads. Small swallow, dark above, pale below with white rump, reddish crown, and notched tail. They concentrate in flocks and perch together, as shown on the images made in Townsville Town Common Conservation Park. A bird introduced in the second half of the 19th century. Common and widespread in wooded habitats, parks, gardens, farmland with hedges, often feeds in fields and on lawns. Some call him a pest, others a helper with the insects. Remember, human terms. Each year, thousands of metallic starlings migrate from New Guinea to North Queensland to build their nest in some of the region's tallest rainforest trees, like these in Mount Molloy. In autumn, when the plumage is new, birds are glossed black, with a purple and green shine, and the tips of the body feathers have large white spots. With wear, the white spots are lost, while the bill and legs turn yellow. This is the bird in these images, might look like a different species. Introduced at Melbourne from Southeast Asia between 1862 and 1872, it established quickly, with several other introductions occurring until the 1950s. Very territorial and practically omnivorous, displaced native birds. Declared a pest, but one brought by humans, not his fault. Small finch with bright orange bill, and a distinctive black and white moustache mark. This big flock was rejoicing showering in a pond, in Shark Bay, Western Australia. The double-barred finch has two narrow black bars, which extend across its otherwise white front. One goes across its breast and the other across the lower portion of its throat. Inhabits open grassy habitats of far northern and eastern Australia. The last clip shows a couple building a nest on a juvenile Araucaria tree. Elegant, long-tailed finch, adult male brown above, intense crimson below, with a cherry red face and small pale spots on the side of the chest. The star finch is a seed-eating bird species found in northern Australia. It has a distinctive red face and bill, and broad white spots down its flanks. The red-browed finch is most easily recognized by its bright red eyebrow, rump and beak, on an otherwise green and grey bird. The flock is drinking in a small pond formed by rainfall. Plump, tiny bird with olive back, grey head, white belly and throat, white spotted black flanks, black breast band, and bright red bill in adult. Inhabits open woodlands of inland southeastern Australia. What initially appears to be dull grey-brown upper parts are revealed to be covered in fine vermiculations, or wavy barring, and the rump of the bird is rich ruby red, especially conspicuous when the bird is flushed from the heathland. Filmed in shrubs on a beach in Tasmania. Flocks forage among low grass, climbing the stems to take the seeds directly from the seed heads, but seldom taking seeds from the ground. The house sparrow is a native of Europe and parts of Asia, though it was widely introduced around the world. Quickly became established in the wild, and their numbers increased enormously until they became pests. Again by man intervention.